There are secrets you can't share with family. There are pains too heavy to tell a friend. And then, there are stories that can only be told in an anonymous place like Reddit. In today's video, you'll hear true stories told by the very people who lived through the pain, the betrayal, and sometimes were the ones who set everything on fire themselves. From a mother spiraling into delusion, leading to 3 people starving together in silence, to a husband who unintentionally dragged his wife back into a life of addiction, all because of his own desire. These aren't feel-good stories. They're raw truths meant to make you pause, and maybe see a part of yourself in them. And if you're watching this video in the middle of the night, ask yourself, how many couples out there are living like this, and no one even knows? Story 1. I lost my mom and sister in a death no one saw coming. I've never truly told this story before, partly because I don't even know where to start when your own tragedy sounds like a nightmare. How do you explain it? And partly because I'm scared people won't believe me. In 2020, my mom and my sister died, not because of an accident, not because of an illness. They died because they starved themselves inside a locked apartment in the middle of a scorching summer. 3 people died, actually: my mom, my sister, and a strange friend my mom had grown close to in her final months. I don't know when my mom started developing schizophrenia. She was never diagnosed while she was alive. I was the one who requested the autopsy and a psychological evaluation after their deaths. It was the only way I could even begin to understand what happened. My mom believed that my dad, who had been divorced from her for years, was plotting to kill them. She cut off all contact with family, friends, even the neighbors. She believed that humans no longer needed food, that we could live off the energy of the universe. And worst of all, my mom dragged my sister into this with her. My sister was 29, an adult, educated, but someone who trusted our mom unconditionally. Somehow my mom convinced her that their deaths were necessary. Their apartment was locked from the inside. The door was barricaded. By the time the police found them, it was far too late. They had already been dead for days, maybe longer. No one knew for sure because their bodies were so severely decomposed. The police couldn't even tell who was who. DNA tests and dental records were needed. I've never read the autopsy report. I've never visited where their ashes were placed. I just can't. But my mind doesn't let me rest. It's haunted. I sometimes secretly look up pictures of corpses, death scenes, starvation victims, just to try to visualize what might have happened in that room. I don't know why I do that. Maybe because I can't understand it, and I'm desperately trying to fill the gap with anything, even horror. I run a small company. I'm still living, still working, still joking around with friends. But sometimes when I catch the smell of rotting fruit or see something decaying, my entire body freezes. I used to think I was going crazy, but after I shared a version of this story on Reddit, someone commented about a phenomenon called folie à deux, shared psychosis. It's when one person with delusions drags another person into the same distorted reality. All it takes is enough isolation, enough trust, and a little fear. That's all it takes to pull an entire family under. My sister could have walked away, but she didn't. I'm not angry at her, just heartbroken. I'm much angrier at myself for not saving them, for letting the police, the medical examiners, the investigators see something I never had the strength to face, for the simple fact that I'm still alive. Many nights I just sit alone in my room feeling like I'm losing my grip on reality. One time I dreamt they were calling for me, their hands reaching through a door crack, eyes, sunken mouths moving, but no words coming out. People ask about my family. I smile. I say, they passed. And that's it. They joke about crazy people. I laugh along, but inside I hear one question echoing. If my mom was once normal, does that mean I could become like her? I don't know. All I know is I'm still alive, but but something inside me died with them a long time ago. Story 2. My boyfriend wanted me to be his maid, and then called me a gold digger. I 30F just ended a 2-year relationship with my now ex-boyfriend 34M, the same man who in his own words was rational, modern, and respectful of women. Yeah, that lasted until he got a raise. We'd been living together for about 6 months, and from the start we had a clear agreement: split the rent, split the chores, split everything until we had kids. Because obviously, if I'm the one who's going to carry the child, pause my career and take on the majority of childcare, then he'd be taking on more household and financial responsibilities during that time. Sounds fair, right? Well, 2 months ago he got a raise. Not a massive one, about $400 more per month after taxes. We adjusted our finances accordingly. He paid a bit more, I paid a bit less. But then, something weird started happening. He just stopped doing chores. At first it was small stuff like forgetting to wash the dishes after I cooked. And yes, our rule was, if you don't cook, you clean. Then it escalated: no laundry, no vacuuming, not even taking out the trash. His excuse: work is too stressful. I also work a full-time office job. I sit for 8 hours a day too. And somehow I'm still the one scrubbing the damn toilet. It reached a tipping point when I discovered a moldy pot, green and white fuzz everywhere that he had just put the lid back on, like I wouldn't notice. I had to take a day off work to clean the disaster he left in the apartment that, just for the record, is in his name. So I told him, if you don't want to do chores, then we hire a cleaner. And if you don't want a stranger in the house, then let me at least order grocery delivery, since you don't even bother shopping during your assigned week. His response: I was wasting money. So I offered a solution. If I'm expected to do all the housework, I'll reduce my work hours to 4 days a week. But if that's the case, he'd need to pay me a proper wage like an actual housekeeper. He was stunned, like he couldn't process the logic. He said people who love each other don't keep score like that. And I said, people who love each other don't exploit each other like that. I asked him, do you really think I love you so much that I'd give up my career to clean your house for free? He said, a real woman takes care of her home. I laughed. And a real man doesn't expect his girlfriend to be an unpaid maid. I told him that if he couldn't afford a cleaner or a cook, then he needed to stop thinking love came with free domestic labor. And if he wanted a woman who'd sacrifice everything for him, he should just marry his mother. He got quiet. I started packing. As I was carrying my suitcase downstairs, the only thing he said was, "You'll regret this." I looked him straight in the eye and said, "The only thing I regret is wasting 2 years on a man who sees his girlfriend as free labor. Now he's texting our mutual friends calling me a gold digger. A gold digger. For asking to be compensated for doing all the chores. Because apparently doing domestic labor for free is love, but asking for fairness is digging for gold. Here's the truth. After his raise, the extra amount he contributed to our living costs was $80 per month. That's it. He got $400 more, gave $80 to the household, and somehow he thinks he's the one being taken advantage of. One of our mutual friends, a guy, told me that my ex has been listening to podcasts about modern masculinity. You know, the ones where a bunch of men sit around whining that women should go back to the kitchen and men are the natural providers. I guess that's where he got the brilliant idea that once you get a raise, your girlfriend should take on more chores. Cute. But I'm not the kind of woman who cooks, cleans, works, and then gets called wasteful for wanting some balance. I'm not the kind of woman who sacrifices everything so a man can live in comfort while pretending he's being oppressed. I'm not a live-in maid with benefits. I'm an adult woman, and I'm not sorry for demanding equality. Story 3. I found out my husband had a secret child. At my own workplace, I work at WIC. If you don't know, WIC is a government program in the U.S. that provides food, nutritional education, and support to low-income women, infants, and children. In other words, I help single mothers. And ironically, I became one of them. That morning started like any other paperwork, phone calls, case files. Then I got a call from a young woman who wanted to apply for the program. She had just given birth. Her voice was soft, a little tired, but full of excitement. I started filling out her file, going through the usual questions: name, baby's date of birth. And then came the father's information if she wanted to include it. And then she said my husband's name. Do you know what it feels like to hear your husband's name come out of a stranger's mouth while you're helping her register for single mother benefits? It's like someone throws a bucket of ice water in your face while you're already standing in flames. I told myself, it can't be just a coincidence. Then she read out his date of birth, digit for digit. I kept it together the way you're trained to when you work in an office and can't just scream, "What the hell?" into the phone. I told her we needed photo ID for both parents to finish the file. She said sure, she'd send a picture of her fiancé in just a few minutes. 30 minutes later, I got a message. It was a photo ID of my husband, smiling wide, wearing the Tommy Bahama shirt I bought him for his birthday. My throat tightened. I almost dropped the mouse. I couldn't breathe. And you want to know what hurt the most? My husband and I had been trying for a baby for 3 years. I had 2 miscarriages. I cried alone in the bathroom while he held me and said, "It's going to be okay." And now, while I'm spending my days helping mothers, he's out there making one with someone else. When I called him, he didn't pick up. Of course not. He said he was on a business trip. I'd bet my entire paycheck he was lying next to her at that exact moment. I honestly don't remember how I finished that work day. I only remember getting into my car after my shift ended, putting my head on the steering wheel, and sobbing like I'd never sobbed before. We got married 6 years ago. His mother stood at the altar and blessed our union. Now I wonder, did she know? Did everyone know except me? We had all those cute couple moments. He wiped my butt when I injured my neck. I shaved his back hair. We were the perfect married couple. Just last month, I posted a teary, heartfelt anniversary message on Facebook. Now I want to dig that status out and bury it. He had no idea I transferred to this WIC office in the new district. And maybe he thought he was being slick, letting his side chick put his name down on a financial support form from the very place I worked. The bitterness of it all. The man who comforted me during my losses. The man I thought would be the father of my child became a father to someone else's baby, while I was still grieving the possibility of motherhood. And maybe you're thinking, could it be a mistake? Maybe he'll explain. No. He went silent. No texts, no calls, no apologies. Just disappeared. Like I was a stranger. I haven't told my coworkers. I haven't told my boss. I haven't told my mom. I haven't even told myself. I don't feel broken like in the movies. I don't feel a dramatic pain. I just feel empty. Like my soul packed its bags and left. And now I'm just sitting here reading through my husband's new family's application like I'm flipping through a bad horror novel. And I already know why the girl applied to WIC, because he's not supporting the child. Because he's probably still spending my money, since I'm the main breadwinner in the house. A father isn't just a man who makes a baby, and some men grow in age, but remain cowardly little boys inside. As for me, I'm moving out. I'm transferring offices. I'm erasing every trace of him from my life, starting with that stupid Tommy Bahama shirt. Story 4. I turned my wife into an addict because of my own desires. I know I'm going to get hate for this story, and honestly, I deserve it. Because I helped destroy the woman I loved, a woman who had fought her way out of a dark past, only for me to drag her right back into it, not with violence, not with threats, but with sweet words, wine glasses, and nights full of exploration. My wife used to be an addict, drugs, and men. She never hid that from me when we first dated. She went to therapy, attended AA, joined support groups, and had been clean for a long time. I loved her for that strength, for clawing her way back to a life worth living. When we got married, life was good. Sure, she was fiery in bed, passionate, bold, intense. But hey, who complains when your wife is beautiful, smart, and can send you to heaven 3 times a night, and then one night after a party with friends, we got drunk together? I knew it was wrong. She shouldn't have been drinking. But she poured the glass herself, and I didn't stop her. In fact, part of me was turned on by it. That night, she transformed into someone else. Wild, untamed, electric, like she'd been unleashed. I had never felt anything like it, and I wanted more. Next time, I casually asked, "Wanna have a little wine, babe?" And from there, it became routine. Then it spiraled. She started lying, disappearing for hours, then days. But she always came home with a bottle in her hand, pouring it into a glass. And that night, we'd burn. I turned a blind eye, as long as I got what I wanted afterward. Eventually, I suggested we try, bringing in a third person. She said no. I laughed it off, said it was just a fun idea. A week later, she went to a party and did it, with 2 people. And just like that, the dominoes fell. She was back in it. Alcohol, sex, lies. She started traveling for work more. Only came home on weekends. I began to suspect things. Then one morning I woke up with symptoms of something off. Went to the doctor. Bingo, an STI. Only possible source, her. I checked her phone. I shouldn't have. There were photos. Her with other men. Women. In poses I can't even describe. YouTube would definitely flag this story. Then I found her private Reddit account. It was a journal, detailing every fling from her business trips. I counted 25 different people. In one single month. 25. When I confronted her, she collapsed. She sobbed. She said she'd relapsed, that she couldn't control herself, that she was sorry. I said sorry too, because I knew I was the one who opened that door. I poured that first drink. I whispered the fun little idea. I used lust to drag someone who was healing right back into hell. She moved in with her mom. Sounds like a step forward, right? Wrong. Her mom wasn't much better. One time I stopped by and found her passed out in bed with a man her mother had brought home. Her mom just looked at me and said, "She's going through a rough patch." I laughed, bitterly. You know what hurts the most? Not the cheating, not the betrayal. It's knowing that I created the monster that ruined this marriage. I want to save her. God, I really do. But I can't. Because every time I look at her, I remember the smile on my face when I poured her that first glass of wine. These stories aren't asking for your approval, just your attention. Because some people are simply trying to survive each day, carrying guilt, frustration, and scars no one else can see. If you saw yourself in any of these stories, remember this. You're not alone. And if you were the one who caused the pain, don't excuse it. Sometimes silence is its own kind of cruelty. Thank you for watching until the very end. Drop a comment below. What do you think? Who was right? Who was wrong? Or maybe we're all just losing in our own story. See you in the next video where every confession is a scream from a soul that's been silent too long.